Hello world, welcome to the Bow Vlog, Million Dollar Dreams, the place where I develop apps and I share with you how I made them. This is actually episode 1 of the channel, so welcome, how you doing? Today I'm going to share with you a few projects that I've been working on, one of which is fairly active. The goal of this channel is really to connect with an audience that is looking to build things. Hopefully I share some of my projects, you share with me some of yours. I'll be happy to shout you out. And as I kind of make progress on these things, I will be sharing little code snippets, maybe full tutorials on how to develop some of these apps. Part of it is to work on different technologies. It's almost an excuse to learn another framework for fun. Part of it is just sharing with you in general how you can take an app idea, turn it into a prototype, things you can do to get feedback and iterate on those things. There's, a strategic side to how you build these things, and then there's a technology behind it. And I've been doing this for over like 10 years, and oddly enough, this is really fun. Very stressful at times, but I feel like I have a lot of experience that I can share with you. I still have plenty to learn, and hopefully we can connect and grow together. So, million dollar dreams, but I'm hoping that eventually these are $1 million realities. As corny as that sound. In a nutshell, I'm just out here working hard. So hopefully some of this sounds interesting to you. Show your support, like and subscribe, drop me a comment. This is a really early stage of the channel, literally episode 1. So drop me a comment, share with me your stuff, share with me any project that you're working on, and I'll be happy to shout you out. So without further ado, I'm gonna hop into my first application that I am currently working on and give you a little demo. Hey. Alright, let's do this. So, I don't want this intro video to take an hour, so I'm going to discuss Fit Goals AI and Epiphany NLP Library first. So, Fit Goals AI. That's an app that I've been working on for almost a year now. With each one of these projects that I post on my website, I will essentially create a landing page for each one, a very simple one. It kind of gives you a quick overview of what the main concept is, core features, and then a quick, lean business model canvas that will state the problem, solution, unique value proposition, etc. But that's like the basic overview of every project that I will be sharing with you all. And once I have that landing page, any YouTube video, blog posts that's specific to this Fit Goals AI thing, or any project for that matter, a feed of either blog posts or YouTube videos, kind of want to follow like the journey, I guess, for that thing would appear here. So without further ado, let's kind of talk about Fit Goals AI. So I worked on this doesn't seem that long ago, but about a year ago over the summer. And this thing actually has its own landing page. And you're gonna see in a second, I have like this robot that basically starts typing text into this input box. And what Fit Goals AI essentially is doing is either with your voice, or like, as you can see, you're just typing stuff. You can just type stuff in. Fit Goals AI voice assistant essentially is detecting intents. And so in this case, you see 10-ounce ribeye, 4 ounces of broccoli. It's going to detect that you're talking about those food items. It's going to calculate the macro for that meal essentially. We will estimate how many calories, protein, and carbs and fat are in that. And what you can essentially do is add that to your daily macros count. So in addition to that, it can also track your workout. So I guess the example here has been all food, but let's say it's in the gym, and you could just pretend that I have my phone, because this is just a landing page, but I have my phone and I'm like 10 squats, 225 pounds. The voice assistant essentially will detect like, all right, you see here, exercise, squats. How many? 10. What's the weight? 225. And so you can basically, it's like a super easy way to track your reps, track, total volume for that day in terms of squats or something like that. And what that will do is obviously track your workout. But some other features that will come, I guess, down the road is like the more you're tracking your macros, tracking your workouts, the AI behind it essentially will help you towards your fitness goals. And that's the real reason why this thing is called Fit Goals AI. Like, I'm trying to develop a system overall that is just going to help you achieve your fitness goals. And whether it's a voice assistant or some other way to help you get there, that's the key takeaway. The voice assistant aspect of it is not like the main feature, I guess you could say. I think it's like the cool one and like it's very marketable, and perhaps people would find that aspect of it very useful. But the main concept of Fit Goals AI is as simple as setting goals and then helping you achieve that goal. And then whatever technology is available to make that easier, that's my goal in developing this app. So right now it's via this voice assistant thing. If you look at my lean model canvas, my problem statement is just saying current technology is too cumbersome to track daily macros and workout progress. And I've used so many different apps to track these things, and they work decently at times, but they're clunky. They're like disruptive to your flow, your vibe, or whatever, and it's like more frustrating than anything. So not exactly 100% sure if using a voice assistant is actually solving that, but it might, and it'd be interesting to see what people would think and get some feedback on it. But with that being said, I do have a little prototype of this working. So this landing page is just, and you can go to fitgoalsai.com. You can play around with this landing page and just type stuff in here, and I'll show you some other stuff in a sec where like the AI can kind of do other stuff, like how do I do deadlifts, and it's basically the AI is going to detect that, like, all right, you're asking me a question and you're talking about deadlifts, I'm just going to YouTube that for you. And that's what it does. So yeah, it's kind of cool. What I want to show you next is, let's see. So what you can see here now on my screen is I have essentially logged in with my own personal test account, and the purpose of this web interface that you see here is really a way for me to kind of test out the data model behind the scenes. I am not 100% sure if I will actually have a web portal where you would like track your food or exercises. I mean, I might, but I'm only saying that because I don't want you to look at this interface and think that like this is the product. This is really just internal prototype, so I can kind of validate what I am building in some way. And so here, when I go into like my fitness goal and I click edit, you can see that I can set how many calories I want to eat in a single day. What my target goal is for grams of protein in a day, carbs, and grams of fat. In the app itself, like I said, you can kind of pretend this is like a voice assistant on your phone. But what you can basically do is, talking to it, let's say, 1 cup of rice. I don't know, let's pretend you ate that for breakfast. Not that you would, but we're all pretending. So I typed it in here, and I don't know if you saw this part right here kind of refresh, but it's detecting the fact that I am trying to add some food to my daily macros. And so if I click confirm here, it'll go to my today's tracker essentially, and it'll add that. And so the thing about the whole voice assistant thing is that it's kind of it's convenient, but what I am doing is, if you see like these buttons down here, you can think of that as like, frequent food items that you might eat or suggested ones. And so instead of always having to talk, even like the AI would be smart enough to know like what you typically eat for breakfast, what you typically eat for lunch, and these food items can be created by yourself, and they can be full meals also. So it's not like you would have to say, bread and then sandwich meat and then cheese and then lettuce and tomato. You can just essentially say, my roast beef Swiss cheese sandwich or something. You don't even have to say that. You can call it like my normal sandwich. You can name it whatever you want to name it, and I'll show you that in a second. But what I'm saying is the AI, can detect phrases and whatever you say, but it'll be smart enough to know frequent food items or meals, and then you'll have like quick shortcut buttons to make it even faster for you to kind of track your macros that way. And so that being said, here by default behind the scenes, I create an initial script that will kind of seed the data with some basic food items, and I just did like a proof of concept just to see if it worked. And so it's a couple of food items in the system, but as a user you can override the estimated values of FitGoals AI for like, if you think the protein for chicken breast is actually this amount versus the current estimation, then you have full access to override it for your account. And then you can create a whole new food item. Like you can say like, grandma's apple pie or something like that, and you can calculate the macronutrients yourself for that and say, the serving is like one slice or something like that. Just trying to show you that it's like going to be fully customizable. But even though it's fully customizable, the voice assistant will still detect it, and then it'll still work like every other food item. And that goes the same for exercises too. If you had like your own custom exercise that it's not like common nomenclature around that movement, but it's your thing, you can name it that. Jump, squat, dizzy, whatever you want to call your own personal exercise. But like I said, similar to how I seed the data with food items, I would seed the exercise database with, an initial data dump of that. And I'm going to show you the technical side of this, because I'm only showing you this so that it piques your interest, and then in future videos I'm going to show you how I actually built it. How I'm building it, and then just getting your feedback in general. So won't get too deep into that. So that's like super high level, like how that's working. And in the future, you'll be able to, get alerts as to, did you record your lunch today? You are not on track for your macros, or AI will be smart enough to suggest food for you. So say it's like dinner time and it knows what you had for breakfast and lunch. It can basically suggest to you like, if you ate this meal, this would fit your macros. So it can kind of help you in that aspect also. But what I want to try to end with really quick before we drop, because this video is going to take for a while, is Epiphany. So the Epiphany Library, this is an open source Ruby gem that it's technically open source because the source code is on GitHub right now. I just don't expect anyone to actually understand how it works, and I honestly am thinking about rewriting the entire thing. When I first built it, it was a proof of concept so that I could build FitGoals AI, and it's actually working. So now that it's working, it kind of proved to myself the mental model behind it, and so now I kind of want to redo the whole thing, clean it up, kind of publish the entity relational like diagram of how I'm building it, and then open source the code and work whoever wants to contribute to it in a community-based type open source thing. Anyways, that's what the Epiphany Library is. It's a Ruby gem, and I'm going to show you real quick how this works. I am not going to get too deep into the machine learning stuff, but It is essentially its own natural language processing library where you can essentially define your own voice assistant, and within that voice assistant, and you can see here I'm at my local host, so I'm just running this locally, but you can basically create entity types, and within those entity types you can tag it with whatever metadata you'd like. So these are like food items, and then if I were to go into one of these things, let's do apple here, and this is where it is able to add the nutrition facts for these items. You have these intents where given a phrase it can return an intent, and then you basically can have these like training phrases, like given like these phrases here, this is the intent. So like I went running 10 miles today, the AI system is thinking, all right, you're trying to log exercise, and then here are the entities that we detected. These other things are like question type things, so on and so forth. It'll tell you if it can't calculate the intent. So, and I actually have this hook where anytime something is unable to be calculated, it sends me a Slack message so that I can follow up on that. So behind the scenes, as a developer, you could like ignore all of that and build your own models and code basically. A super quick overview of how this thing works. So down here, 6-ounce chicken breast. So you can pretend that like someone said in their phone 6-ounce chicken breast and is trying to detect the intent. And so the intent of that phrase was to log some food. And if I, the original phrase of 6-ounce chicken breast, that's what the current AI is detecting. And I do intent. What did I call this thing? Tokenize. I don't know why I needed this long. This is why I need to refactor it. That's what it is, yeah. So this is like an array of entity items here. So like the number 6 is like an integer. Ounce, I guess that's some metric. If you look at 6 ounces, probably saying that's a serving size. So here, this is the second item in the array, S, and then if I call entity type on this thing, it's gonna tell me that's a serving size. If I look at the other items here, so the 4th item in this array is chicken breast. So given that string, 3rd or 4th item. So given like that token basically, and I call the entity type on this thing, this is saying that's a food item. And then as you kind of go through these, what I'm calling tokenized entity items, down here eventually, this is where you have 6-ounce chicken breast, last item. And this token entity type saying he's a serving of food. This might be really confusing, but basically that phrase gets tokenized. There's an analysis that happens and an intent is detected based on that analysis. And that analysis is basically looking at these different entity types that are detected on these tokens. That's like super high level. And it was built as a proof of concept, but what this also can do, so like that was, the food version, but the other version of where it's like 10 squats, 225 pounds. I was saying, okay, you're trying to log the exercise. Then if I do the same thing that I was doing before, tokenize entity items here, it's detecting, squats. So if I do second item in the array, well, first it's gonna say squats, and if I call entity type on it, say, oh, you're trying to do an exercise. So yeah, this is like super high level. And I'm just showing you this because my intention, or like I said, it's technically already open source, but it probably won't make sense to you if you check it out, and it's my fault because I didn't really write documentation around it or even write it that well. I was just trying to build a proof of concept around it. I worked with a few different natural language libraries and they're good. Like, they just weren't that fun for me to work on. And so Oh, whoa, it's daytime. What just happened? Sorry, last night when it was recording, the video cut off. Camera that I have stops at 30 minutes, but it doesn't like beep or show me if it stopped recording or whatever. So I lost the last few minutes of that footage, but I was wrapping it up anyways. Maybe it's a good indicator that the video was getting too long. Just to finish that thought, there's a lot of good machine learning libraries out there. There's a lot of good natural language frameworks and things and services you can use. I started working on my own mostly because it was super fun and I wanted full control over that whole ecosystem. I wanted a way to kind of bridge the gap between doing traditional machine learning and adding like your own custom application logic together. By doing Fit Goals AI, in my opinion, I'm proving out a need to like just utilize different tooling for whatever that use case is. And I'm having fun doing it, honestly. That's what Epiphany is really about. And so I want to keep working on that, want to open source it and try to collaborate with some other. I'm going to wrap up the video. I think I mentioned earlier, last night it was so late, it was like 2 a.m. and I was trying to power through this video because I'm trying to learn how to do YouTube, and content that I'm putting together in the early stages might not be that organized. As you can see, it's like magically daylight now. Part of my videos will be me sharing my screen and going through an idea and then demoing some technology behind it. Some of my content will be in vlog form like this, like me just talking to the camera. So I'll figure out how to kind of communicate my story and keep it as organized as possible, but early stages, figuring this thing out. I would sincerely appreciate it if you'd like to subscribe, just so that I know that this is somewhat interesting content. In the next video, I will start diving into my other fitness app, which is the Fit 15 videos and Fit 15 trainer and the Fit Goals Studio idea that I have. You know, some people might think that like, one, why are you even sharing your ideas and, you know, sharing like the code behind it and all this stuff like that, because maybe it could be something. And in reality, most like startups or ideas, they fail. The things that I'm showing you are never going to be so novel that like nobody else can do it or replicate it. What I'm trying to show people, $1 million dreams to me is all about a work ethic, bringing it to life. And the only way you can ever really do that is if you put it out there, get feedback on it, and then keep learning. So that's why I'm just putting my ideas out there. And a lot of this stuff is like lessons learned as to what I should have been doing from the beginning. And with that being said, 10 years later, fast forward to today, I've like learned so much that I feel like I can share my experiences with you, so I can kind of help expedite you on your journey and learn from, I guess, my mistakes in some ways. But yeah, that's about it. I'm talking way too much. Gonna wrap it up. I'll catch you in the next video. Peace.